Welcome to the Intentional Household Podcast. I'm Laura Wilson. We have Alex joining us today. And with Mother's Day around the corner, I wanted to talk all about Mother's Day. But when I introduced the topic to Alex, he suggested, hey, this shouldn't just be about Mother's Day. There's Father's Day as well. I want to talk about Father's Day.
Now you make me sound like the chauvinist, but that's okay. But what I meant by that was that because I know what the episode's about, guys. So bear with me when Laura and I talked about this a few days ago while preparing for this. But it's the expectations around celebrating an individual. So I didn't want to just talk about 50% of the audience. I wanted to talk to 100% of the audience. So yes, I brought up Father's Day, but I'm not trying to discount Mother's Day. Mother's Day is very, very important. So you can continue.
No, it is valid because I always know in preparing for Mother's Day, Father's Day is shortly behind. So I always have that in the back of my mind as well. And these principles that we're talking about today can also apply to birthdays. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what I find is common is even leading up to Mother's Day. Mother's Day hasn't even approached yet. Lots of my friends are already disappointed in how Mother's Day is shaping up, how it's already going to be a day spent not how they want to spend it, spending it with people they don't want to spend it with, maybe with their mother or their in-laws or just hosting at their house. So this is about putting in practices so that you're not disappointed and really take control of your day.
Well, and I'll add, and I just realized, how I brought up Father's Day, not to just keep on saying Father's Day, but what it was is when Laura said, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. And I'm like, well, why am I even sitting here? I shouldn't be sitting here. Tatiana across from me, our marketing manager, should be sitting in the seat because she's a mother. What do I have to contribute to Mother's Day? And then when we discussed it, then I brought up Father's Day and talking about everyone. But what it came down to, and what I said to Laura and Tatiana, not being a mother, is that I don't really do much on Mother's Day. But that's because Laura has clearly set out her expectations for the day. She has aligned what she wants to do for herself so that the only real requirement I have on Mother's Day is to make sure that I follow her guidelines, which is, what she wants to sleep in. I do various things with the kids to give some free time. She does still want to spend time with the family. So she does want to have some involvement with the family, but I don't feel like I do anything because I've already been told what I need to do. So I didn't think I had much to contribute, but that's why I didn't think I needed to be sitting here. And that's how Father's Day got brought. I'm like, let's add Father's Day in here too. But that's where the dialogues are going to come is like, you've been successful in setting yourself up for success and not being disappointed on Mother's Day because you're very clear on what you want for Mother's Day and what you do not want to do for Mother's Day. And I know that if I didn't follow your expectations, then there would be consequences. So, Laura, you alluded to at the beginning that a lot of your friends are already, or people in your network are already dreading Mother's Day and already are disappointed. Why are these individuals already pre-disappointed in their Mother's Day experience?
It's a really good question. And I think it comes down to a number of factors. I think as much as it is Mother's Day, I think that there are already expectations of the mom and how she is to spend the day. I think there are traditions that families have, which may include hosting the in-laws. And I think that a lot of moms just don't want to continue those traditions. So they have like I said, there's that expectation. There may be not even knowing what they want to do, how they want to spend it. I mean, it's one day. I remember when we had young kids and I had probably for the first time an hour or an afternoon to myself, which felt so rare. There were so many opportunities or so many options in terms of how I could spend that hour or afternoon. And I couldn't even think of how I wanted to spend it. So I think that it's foreign right? Just sitting down and coming up with the possibilities of how your Mother's Day looks can be challenging because it's often not done. I think that there's also a lot of guilt around Mother's Day. I know that I very much feel torn on Mother's Day. I feel various emotions. Firstly, I know that I want to spend the day alone. I want to use the day to recharge, relax. I love going to the spa, just being alone, not with the family. But on the other hand, I feel guilty because it is Mother's Day and I feel like I should be spending it with my kids, connecting with them. And they certainly have.
Well, I gotta jump in for a second because I can't think of a Mother's Day where you have went to the spa and spent time alone. But I do know that you do book some spa time and alone time, just not on the actual Mother's Day. And I know that I made the mistake one year, speaking of like expectations and guilt. I booked a work trip over a weekend, which was Father's Day. And the kids were upset because they wanted to celebrate me and be around me. And that was like a switch in my head going, oh, wow. Father's Day isn't just for me. It's a time to allow people to celebrate me, the kids, and they want to be involved in that. So just going to the guilt side, I do, like and Laura knows that on Father's Day, I do take time and I want to be around the kids. And I didn't realize how important that was for the children as well, to have that opportunity to celebrate. But again, with Mother's Day, I can't think of a Mother's Day where you went to the spa and been alone on that Sunday of Mother's Day, but you generally do it on a Friday. You're like, hey, this is my Mother's Day treatment for myself. And you book it on another day.
Yeah. So there's a lot of conflicting feelings there for sure. Also, I think there are a lot of assumptions made or just not communication, that my partner knows it's Mother's Day. He's not going to make me cook and clean, and he knows I want to be around. He knows that I love my kids. I think there just isn't communication that I love my kids, and despite that, I don't want to cook. I don't want to lift a finger. I don't want to do any household chores. But we all know you can't make assumptions. No one can read your mind. So unless you clearly communicate that, you really can't make the assumption that the partner knows or understands what you want and what you don't want.
Well, and I think yes, there's the assumption side, but also on the time management side is Mother's Day may be a specific day. Like it's Sunday, but there is something that you have a scarcity of, and that's the actual time component, right? So what you can do is, instead of taking Mother's Day as, let's talk about the rule of the law and spirit of the law. Rule of the law is that Mother's Day is on this Sunday. It's a specific day. There are 24 hours and it has to stay within this day. But the spirit of the law is that Mother's Day is a celebration of mothers. There are more hours if you expand the Mother's Day and look at, okay, if we look at the specific day of Mother's Day, spending time with the kids, spending time with the family, but also there's a component where I want my alone time and I want to enjoy myself and be me, and then separate that and book that at a separate time as part of the spirit of the Mother's Day. So I think, when we look at, or when you get deeper in what causes the disappointment is expectations not being met. Like that's what causes disappointment across anything. Like anything that it is, disappointment is the root cause of disappointment is expectations not being met. So number one, what do you have to do? You have to communicate. Actually, that's not even number one. That's not number one. Sorry. You have to write down what your expectations are. That's number one.
Actually, number one is determining your expectations.
Determining your expectations.
So for anyone listening right now, what you could do is get out a piece of paper, a pen, and ask yourself what it is you want on that day. How do you want to feel? So some examples. Do I want to feel recharged, relaxed, pampered, connected? These are just some words that I have here.
Ooh.
Uninterrupted,
Ooh, I like
energized, adventurous, creative, celebrated.
What I'm seeing here, this is an exercise. This is an exercise. You sit down and what you're doing is you're writing down adjectives to describe what a Mother's Day experience would be like for you. So you have the adjectives.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes.
So these are the feelings that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next step is to Laura wants to say it.
Well, I was going to say the next step is who do I want to spend it with?
Oh, okay.
Do I want to spend it with my kids? With my extended family? Okay, sorry, let's get more specific. Do I want to spend it with my mom, my mother-in-law, my sisters, my friends? Nobody.
So I was going a different direction.
Okay.
So I put an adjective and then I describe what that looks like to me.
What would allow me to feel that way? What would allow me to feel adventurous?
Yeah, adventurous, yes. So what I would write down is then I would write down the verb, the activity.
Okay, you can do that next.
That would do that. So
okay.
Let's say adventurous, to me would be like going on a hike somewhere. That's something that would be adventurous to me. And then I would then, do I want to do that alone or do I want to do that with family or something along those lines? And what we're doing here for people is creating exercise for, if you don't know what you want to do, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't always know what I want to do, but I know how I want to feel. And then if you start with the feeling you want, then you can start build out the activity. You may know the feeling you want. Then you associate the activity that will give you that feeling. I've never thought of that before. This is neat.
And I think it's okay to feel many feelings and to identify that you want some alone time, but you also want some family time. And with what specific individuals?
Yeah. So for those that have difficulty understanding what they want to do, identify the feelings you want to feel, then associating the activity. Then, as Laura said, you add who you want to spend that activity with. Is it alone? Is it with family or something along those lines? Then what you have is you have a document now that you can then bring to your partner, to your spouse, to your family, right? You could have older kids and go, hey, here's what I want to, here are my expectations for my spirit of Mother's Day. That's his spirit. I think, if you're, again, I know Laura does this, you spread it out over the time that works for you, because you may have things that you have to do on the Mother's Day. And we'll get more into that in regards to families and everything like that, extended families, because there's not only one mom, there are many, many moms. And so how you get your mom time and then celebrate the mothers that are in your life as well. And what we've done is we've communicated expectations to the people that can help us, who are there to support us, to make sure our expectations are met, to then reduce the probability of disappointment. It's all math.
And I would even get more specific in terms of what you're writing down. So not just how you want to feel with whom and what, but I would even think about specifically on Mother's Day, from the time you wake up until you go to sleep, what would the perfect day look like?
Oh, absolutely. You need to be very specific and again, we're being very specific on the Mother's Day, Father's Day experience. But again, this goes around to expectations and disappointment in general. This can be used across many, many, many things. But if you're very specific, and you need to set yourself up for success as well. If it's like, hey, I'll go use a hike, for example, or I'll use a hike, for example. There may be a lot of things that I need to prepare for before I go do the hike. You may want to have those things prepared before the night before, so you can have that seamless transition out of the house to go do that alone. Otherwise, you will be bogged down with the obligations of the family and everything like that. So being very specific and communicating that, right? to the partner and spouse so that they can help you be successful with that. So again, I'll go in detail. If you're going for an early morning hike, you may go downstairs and the kids are like little birdies go, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. And if your spouse is still in bed and you're stuck feeding them, your day has started with disappointment. But the spouse didn't know to feed them.
No, they didn't, because it was never specified, right? Like the hike was going to start at 9 a.m. The kids wake up and say they want to eat at 7 a.m. Oh, that's great. So he can still wake up and feed the kids. If let's say it was Father's Day and you didn't communicate to me, I don't want to serve breakfast on Father's Day. So you also want to communicate what drains you or how you don't want to spend the day. What activities don't you want to do? So for me, it would be, I don't want to have to serve anyone food. I don't want to have to clean up from meals. I don't want to host a brunch. Don't want to be with extended family. So it's specifying that so that it is crystal clear. And so it would kind of communicate to the partner whose day it isn't that, like, I expect that when you wake up that I can be free to spend the morning how I want. I don't have to serve breakfast. I can get ready for my hike and be out the door at whatever time I need, but you weren't depending on me for family or household duties.
So we've talked about writing your expectations down and an exercise to go through. Wouldn't it be great if there was a pre-made document that allowed you to work through this process?
Well, I created this criteria that I use that helps to set me and you up for success. So this is something that we are going to share with listeners if they want to use it so that they can set themselves and their partner up for success.
And it's really a tool. It's an exercise tool to help you work through your thoughts, to get them down on paper so that they're crystal clear. And this is going to flow into my next comment. So they're crystal clear so you can share with the other individual because they can't read your mind.
No one can read your mind. You can't expect anyone to read your mind or to know what you want. And just because you've done something in the past, so like you said, I often will go to the spa. I will often do certain things on Mother's Day. Well, guess what? Maybe this Mother's Day, I want something else. So I can't expect or assume that you will know what it is unless I've communicated it.
And this here is, I'll call it a self tool to help you get out of a certain feeling. Okay. So let's say you're disappointed about something, right? And that a disappointment was because an expectation wasn't met. We've already talked about earlier in the episode that disappointment is a direct product of expectations not being met. But you're sitting there disappointed, and then you think, did I communicate that expectation to the partner? And if you didn't, then guess what? You don't have the right to feel disappointed. And guess what happens then? You will no longer feel disappointed because you realize that it's not any other person. You didn't communicate it. So how could that person perform that if that expectation wasn't outlined to them? Now people may feel on the other end of this going like, oh, but that's what I want. I want them to read my mind. Well, now what are you doing? You're setting yourself, Laura's smiling at me because I am guilty of this, guys. I am 1000% guilty of this, okay? 1000% guilty, okay?
Do you know what I'm thinking of right now?
My birthday? Yes. Just thinking of my birthday. Which there was a level of disappointment on my birthday. But again, when you go through that process, were my expectations communicated? Absolutely not. There was no expectation. There was zero expectations communicated. But then I was disappointed. And I was grumpy. But if you think about it, sorry, not if you think about it, but You got to assume, just assume the other person's an idiot, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You assume the other person's an idiot, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. Assume the other person doesn't know, and then communicate with that to them, and then your expectations will be met. And now you've removed that feeling of disappointment. Do you sit there? Do you like feeling disappointed? Do you like feeling grumpy? Do you like feeling disappointed? That's a terrible feeling. Laura, do you like feeling that way?
No, I don't at all. And so that's why I'm really thinking about all of these different scenarios in my head and different ways that you can set yourselves up for success by using a tool to write it down and then to verbally communicate that with your partner, but then to also be able to hand that piece of paper over to the partner so that they can see it written down. Because if I can recall your birthday, I think one of the issues was that we were talking about your birthday and we were with our kids and it was a busy time. I think the kids were running around the table and may have been loud. There were a lot of interruptions. And so that wasn't actually the right time to be talking about your birthday. Actually, when we were talking about that day, I was talking about it as tomorrow and I wasn't remembering that it was your birthday that day. And so that's what we also had issue there. And I'm sure, and you were on the other side, remembering it was your birthday. And anyway, the point is,
we'd have to get it, but here's what it is. I made an assumption,
mm-hmm.
and I wasn't communicated how my day was to be spent, and how the day was spent. It was more treated like a regular day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and let's be clear. He wants to be.
I want to feel special.
He wants to feel special.
Yeah,
and which is how you should feel.
Yeah.
But you know what I did?
You went to play tennis that morning.
But you know what I did? I made a note in my calendar for next year.
Yeah.
Alex wants to be made to feel special. Mm-hmm. And so what can I do? Mm-hmm. So I made notes so that I won't make that mistake again. But it's communicating it.
Absolutely. And we got in, guys, we got in a legit fight. We got in a legit fight. I was grumpy all day, dragging my feet, pouting, that kind of stuff. I was miserable. I was a miserable person. And why was that? Because expectations weren't met, and then there was disappointment. But that was things weren't communicated, right? And again, we have a busy household, 2 dogs, 3 young kids, this kind of stuff, right? I know we're not in our 20s and we can only think about ourselves and each other. Like there's so many things that are on our mind. So, if you give the list to the other individual, then you've set that person up for success.
The key really is documenting it, because it's so easy to have a conversation, walk away and not think about that again, or to forget you even had it, or forget what that person communicated. Mm-hmm. So really writing it down, documenting it, and communicating it well in advance so that they have time to prepare. And because if you prepare in advance and then someone else has come, let's just say an in-law, and an in-law wants to, or a mother, we could just say, wants to get together, well, actually, you already have plans made. So we can work together to collaborate on Mother's Day, but maybe it means this day I am doing how I want to spend it, and then we can have that brunch together another day. But it really comes down to understanding what you want, how you want to feel, writing it down, and communicating it to your partner so that you are set up for success.
Mm-hmm. And again, people may be listening going, oh, I expect that other person to already know that. You know what? Now you're setting yourself up again for disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
But why would you want to set yourself up to feel?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to feel. I want to feel great. I want to be happy. And literally, when we do print profiles, everything like that, not to go down the rabbit hole, like my number one motivation in life is to enjoy life and be happy. So why would I do something that is going to set myself up to potentially not enjoy life and be happy? And going into Laura's point, just talking about, there are multiple mothers, on the Mother's Day, right? So setting expectations is important. Like, let's say there's a brunch, right? Let's say you're going to be celebrating the mother of your children, and then another mother that's in your life, whether it's your mother or your mother-in-law, you just invite them, and you're like, in your head, you're like, no big deal. You're like, I'm celebrating the mothers, and now potentially the mother of your children, your wife, your spouse, is upset because they're like, well, I wanted to spend time with my family. It wanted to be my special day, and now you brought someone else in. And in your head, you're like, well, I just assumed that it was okay because I brought the mothers in. It was never communicated that it's supposed to be special to the mother of my children. So this is why it's so important to write these things down. This is just an example of something that could happen that's probably happened out there. But if it's not communicated, then it's just like me, how I want on the example of the birthday, nothing was communicated, so expectations weren't met, and then there was disappointment. Write it all down.
This is actually interesting, though, because you can have two strong personalities with two strong views. So let's say I wrote down how I want to spend Mother's Day, and it said on there, I do not want to spend it with my mom or my mother-in-law. Like on the Sunday of Mother's Day, I don't want to. And you say, Laura, every year we spend it, we include my mom. She expects that. We've made this a tradition. How do you decide in this situation who gets what?
You don't want to concede anything. But in order for this example to work, you have to be collaborative. So if we look at this big picture, right? Let's go back to where we talk about the spirit of Mother's Day. The spirit of Mother's Day. In this example, the mother of your children has communicated they want a special Mother's Day brunch with you and the family. Okay, that's the spirit. The rule is on a specific day. Okay, so this is an example. Let's work within the spirit. So this is we're not compromising was the word I was saying. We're not compromising.
Yeah, because it means someone isn't getting what they want.
Compromise, exactly. And you can't compromise because compromise also leads to disappointment. Maybe not a full-out disappointment, but now something's buried inside you that you may bring up at a later point, and then that causes issues. So you can't compromise, but you have to be collaborative because there will be. You have to be collaborative to work through a situation. So the situation you got two people that want, and it could be three people, right? You know, how many mothers are in your lives, right? It could be your mother, your in-law, and the mother of your children. So how can you be collaborative? And the collaborative is, and this is not a compromise. It's the spirit is, again, spending brunch with the family. The collaborative part is, okay, do we move the date? Do we do multiple that day? It's got to be collaborative to allow the other parties to work through this. I think in that case, you have to be flexible in that case of working within the spirit, not set on the date.
Who has to be flexible?
You have to work that out between each other. But that's a collaborative. That's the idea of collaborative.
Yeah,
working
it is.
It out between the two.
Okay.
Right. You know, it's who it's not compromising because it's on the day. I'm going to mean date specific. It's work within the spirit and don't work within the rule. Because if you work within the rules, then that is going to create issues because now you're within a contained space and there just may be too many things that need to be done with a contained space. So let's be collaborative and creative to figure out a solution.
Okay.
But not compromise.
Yeah, it could be a toughie because if you're looking at the mother to your kids who is likely working, this could be, some people could have opinions on this. But if they are a working mother and they want to celebrate Mother's Day on another day, it might mean they have to take a vacation day.
Okay, then you do it on the Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. Good one.
I'm just like
yeah.
Okay, or you do it on another weekend.
Okay.
It's this you're like, oh well, again, your example, I'm working. Okay. And then we just do it another Sunday. Again, we're playing within the spirit... 'Don't allow a time constraint to cause issues. And, you know, 'cause, again, your example, I'm working. Okay. And then we just do it another Sunday. Okay. And then we're just do it another Sunday. Again, we're playing within the spirit. Don't allow a time constraint to cause issues. And, you know, 'cause, again, your example, I'm working. this also, like, we'll play the Mother's Day, Father's Day, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Everything that you're giving, you can get back on your day. But I'm like, I don't want someone to feel like, oh, I'm giving all this time. Like, and not that it can be an expectation, but whatever you give, you'll get back, right? Like
Tit for tat.
but tit for tat's a bad word to think of it. But just think, what you put in, you get out. I think that's a way better way to look at it than tit for tat. But that's with anything, within work, within exercise, within how you live your life. Everything you put into it, you can then have an expectation that you get it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're not getting it back, and then you probably haven't set the expectations. We're not getting into the whole, like, if you're putting everything in and someone's not giving back and you've set expectations and you're still not getting it, then that's a much bigger conversation that we're not getting into there.
Mm-hmm. It really, like, so the one, let's just say, if it's Mother's Day for me and I have written this all down, I've communicated it to you. Now it's your job to help me follow through on that and to respect that these are my wishes and to help make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And again, but as the other individual, you got to be collaborative too, right? Like, that's where you're working within the other person's constraints and time and family dynamics and everything like that. Collaborative, not compromising. Again, collaborative, as you said, when we're giving the example, well, who wins, who gets the date? Like, well, you work together to figure out who's going to get which date, but be collaborative in that response. So again, you're saying, well, vacation day is that going to be like, then do the following Sunday, right? But also, when you use the word I was thinking in my head, use the word tit for tat, okay? Be reasonable. And what I mean by that, let's say, when I said, like, oh, what you get in, what you get back. Well, what if there aren't multiple fathers on the Father's Day? So you don't need to go over 2 days. So the way the individual may look at it, going like, oh, like, I have to do this Sunday, I got to do 2 Sundays, I'm only getting one day or something like that. Don't look at it like that. Like that. That's not, you're not being reasonable, because your situation is different than their situation, but you're being collaborative, working together as a team to make sure expectations are met. So we're not meeting the level of disappointment. So it's not a tit for tat situation, because that is going to create conflict, going, hey, I put this in, you get this back. No, it's a bigger picture of everything. That, okay, then they have multiple moms and you don't have multiple dads on that side. That's just the situation. Doesn't mean that you get something else on a new creator day because you put more effort in over there. It's going to work itself out over the long run. As when Laura and I first started dating, she said, there's no point system. There's no point system. What you do today, there's no carry forward points. No carry forward points. Think of it like that. Yes, you get in what you get out of it, that kind of thing. But if an extra layer goes in because of the situation, don't expect to get that out on the other end. But there'll be your own situation that comes up at some point in the future that a reasonable person will work within those expectations, right? So again, we're working within the spirit, not within the law. The law, creating rules, creates conflict as well.
And it really is kind of meant to be a team approach. Like, how can we make this a great day, not you versus me?
Exactly. And that expectations written on paper prevent disappointment as well. It also, we all, again, from strategic coaching and going into this, and we also, there's the experience transformer as well.
That is what I was going to get into. I was going to test you, Alex.
Okay.
Because after every event, Alex, you like to
say the word.
Create a document. Yes. Experience Transformer is the strategic coach tool, but essentially what it is reflecting on the event or the experience and reflecting on what went well, what didn't go well, what could be improved, and what are action steps to implement. So if you just had Mother's Day and you reflect on it, you could do that to make the next one better.
Yeah. Not only reflect on it, share it.
Yes.
With the other individual and collaborate for the next one. That's where the positives are just as important as, hey, areas of where we can make this. You know what? I got to change the wording on that, because what I would do and the wording away that was described. Here's the positives, and here's next year how we can go bigger and better.
Mm-hmm.
Like just because
Elevate it.
And the reason where you yes, the experience transform. You want to limit the negativity in regards to, hey, here's where we can make it better. Here's how we can make it. Sorry, not how, here's how we can make it better, but just saying here's what went wrong. Here's how we can elevate it. Just changing the language, because you don't want to go to someone that's just putting on a lot of effort, or if they actually,
what worked well, what didn't work well.
Yeah.
Okay, go
different
on.
Language.
Sure. I mean, people can use the language that they want. Whatever supports them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People can use the language, but also understand the partner. You know what's going to. I'm just trying to prevent trigger situations.
Okay.
Trigger situations where someone's sitting down and they're like, hey, what went well, what didn't go well. But again, I think when you're doing that, make sure it's a collaborative conversation, not you putting, like, again, going down you as the individual that was being celebrated that day. Hey, what didn't go well? Like, I think be collaborative in that, and now maybe this might be my sales side and relationship building side, and just protect the other individual a little bit as well.
Well, hey, if they failed me, I want to communicate that and make it crystal clear. This actually didn't go the way I wanted it. So what could be done next year? This is what could be done next year. And then we're going to file that away somewhere so we can refer back to that for the time leading up to Mother's Day. And again, give yourself lots of planning time so that if any support needs to be brought in, if anything needs to be booked, it's booked. And I'm going to say, if anything does need to be booked, I know some people, they're like, oh, they assume the partner knows, oh, maybe he will surprise me and he'll book a hotel or he'll book a spa. Just do it. Just do it yourself. If you want it. I mean, I booked the spa this year. My sisters and mom and I were staying at a hotel the Friday before, and I booked it. I'm not counting on Alex to do my bookings. I'm just communicating to him what I want and what I need so that I can get it.
Yeah, like, I won't be here to look after the kids.
Yeah.
Like, give an example of that. And you've booked that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Or if you do need something booked and you do want the partner to book it, then communicate that. Don't assume that, again, that they will book it, because that's where it can lead to disappointment. I feel like we've talked about really how we can set ourselves up very well.
Well, let's go and just bring it from beginning to end. So the beginning part is download the expectation tool that Laura is going to provide to you.
Yep.
And this will give you the framework to sit down and go through the process to understand the feelings and the actions, and then who you want involved in your experience, right? This can be Mother's Day, can be Father's Day, can be birthday, can be any experience. You take that down, you write that down, the feelings you want, the activity associated with it, and then who you want to spend that time with. And
what you don't want to do.
And then, that's right. Yep. Very, 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 very important. What you don't want. No, like this is not what I want. So this will all be down. So you download that piece of paper, you sit down, you write that down. This is step one. Step two, then you share that. Share, very important, share it. Can't just file it away and no one looks at it. That's not going to do any good. Share that and communicate that with the individuals that you need to make this an experience a success, to unlock those feelings you want to feel. And then doing that.
And then lastly, reflect on the experience.
After. Yes. Yeah. Because we always want bigger and better.
Yeah.
Let's go bigger. Let's go better.
Yes. Thank you for listening. Be sure to download our Expectations Clarifier tool so you can complete it and communicate your expectations for how you want to spend your Mother's Day or Father's Day. Thank you for listening.